are now listening to Season 3 of the VMX Show. Hello everyone, it's the VMX Show. That's right, the VMX Show. This is Season 3, Episode 10. We're in the double digits, and that means we're near the end, but have no fear, because it will be uninterrupted, because you're going to get Season 1 right after Season 3. It's kind of like Street Fighter, it's all fucking out of order. Or maybe Star Wars, who knows. I'm going to attempt to make you guys laugh right now with 3 simple words. Mavis Beacon Nudes. I thought of that the other day. Maybe the 3 funniest words in the English language. Only when they're together, though. Separate, it's not so funny. Oh man, I got a great show for you. Not as much content as yesterday, but that just means you can all relax. Don't have to worry about the show going over an hour. Don't have to rush through everything, so that's cool. Got your questions and comments. We have a guest. Video Games showed up yesterday, wanting to do, or maybe it was the day before yesterday. I don't even fucking know anymore. And, of course, we have news and everything. Started off the show with a great song that was Thank You Everyone from the soundtrack to Breath of Fire 2, which was on Super NES. And then later it was on Game Boy Advance, come to think of it. That was the end credits song, as if you couldn't tell just from the way it sounded. Let's get to your questions and comments. Not as many this week. Everything's just sort of calmer this week. Let's see what we... Oh, that's the news. That's not what I want to look at. Here we are. Jazzmaster909 asks, what scares you more, Resident Evil or Doom 64? And I'm glad he specified Doom 64, because that's the one that was actually kind of creepy. You know, I don't really get scared, so to speak, by games. There's certainly a few moments in the Resident Evil series where I was startled momentarily. But Doom 64 probably is the game that came the closest to ever giving me like a real scare because of its creepy atmosphere, which had a lot less to do with the content of the game and a lot more to do with the atmosphere set by the game, most specifically the music, which was very ethereal and creepy and atmospheric, ambient, you know, all sorts of different words that all basically mean the same thing. So I would have to give it to Doom 64. It's interesting because then they did Doom 3, which was less action-based but more horror-based, so you think that one would be much scarier. But then it seemed to be more like Resident Evil, where it was all about things jumping out at you and trying to get you to jump and be startled, but not really creating an atmosphere of horror, which I thought Doom 64 did really well. The early Silent Hill games also kind of did that really well. I think a scary game is one that isn't all about shit jumping out at you, or, kind of like the very, very old Penny Arcade joke of, what is the definition of survival horror? It means shit will jump at you through windows. Whether it's zombies, like Resident Evil, or unimaginable horrors of creatures like Silent Hill, although that one did a better job of atmosphere, or dinosaurs like in Dino Crisis. It's all about shit jumping out at you, which, if you know it's coming, isn't really that scary at all. It's only going to be effective once. It's kind of like horror movies. I prefer the ones that give you a more psychological scare, not just, loud noises and frightening images. So, good question. Antonio Grieve leaves me a message that says, amazing show this week. I was rather proud of it. I'm glad I got some messages from people saying they enjoyed episode 9, because I thought that was one of my best ones. Zazzy234 says, damn, that intro music scared me. Really? It was the Lufia song that scared you? I mean, maybe it was just kind of like, it just has that bombastic intro, ba, 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 ba. I don't know. Usually I do kind of ease into the music, but I decided to do something different last week. It scared you? Wow. Okay. I don't know. That's not what I was going for, but I hope you enjoyed this song. Hope this week's song didn't make you crap yourself. Benson's999 left me a message that I'm not sure what he's trying to say. I think he's making fun of my previous guest, who has a very thick British accent. He fucking grim up north in it. It's funny, I was just talking to Matthew the other day about Scottish people. If you wanna insult Scottish people, if you wanna really piss them off, just do the Scotty accent, the Scotty voice from Star Trek. Oh, they cannot hold it together, Captain. Oh, she's breaking apart. Because they're like, Bill, Scotty never would have talked like that if he was one of us. And we had a good laugh over that. But, yeah, fucking Graham up north, innit? Onwards. Razarath92 just said, nice show, Negro. Thank you. Psych Duke says, yeah. I think that's Ngah. Yeah. I don't understand this comment. The peeping sound during the interview really hurt. Please prevent that if possible. I have no idea what you're talking about. A peeping sound. I actually listened to the whole episode after that, and I didn't notice a peeping sound. So I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody else mentioned that. So I don't know. How are you? I'm just curious as to how he listens to the show. Might be faulty equipment. I've not heard anything about a peeping sound. Mega Zero. Well, this was really more. I don't know if he wanted me to read this, but he's offering to sell me a wireless adapter for Xbox 360. He didn't mention how much he wants for it. I found out where he lives. He's a few hours away. I don't know. Cobra DVS says, "Hey Necro, great show. What do you think about Doom 4? I've looked it up online a bit, and apparently it's happening. What would you like to see in the game? The more Doom 3 survival horror genre, or more like the originals, where it's hordes of monsters and stuff?" See, I was just talking about this. That's great that this came up. I, for one, love Doom 3, but prefer the earlier one's gameplay more. Thanks. Well, you pretty much echo my sentiment there. I like Doom 3, but I definitely preferred the older style games. Doom 64 being my favorite, and my second favorite being the original Doom. But yeah, the Doom 3 was great, but yeah, it definitely did go for more of a survival horror mixed with a first-person shooter. When I want hordes of monsters. Give me lots and lots of monsters. Creep me atmosphere. And some music. That's the one thing that Doom 3 was missing, because when you fire it up and you get that rockin' ass song at the title screen, and you're just pumped, and then there's no music at all in the levels. And it's, give us some music, something creepy and ambient, and they said it's not a sequel to Doom 3. They said it's not a reboot. So then what the fuck is it? Who knows? Maybe it's a prequel or something. I don't know what Doom 4 is. I don't really know anything about it, but that's kind of what I'm hoping that it is, that it's more action oriented. I assume that after Rage comes out and that kind of dies down a bit, that it will reveal something about Doom 4. So, looking forward to that. CoolVids19 says, "I agreed to meet this guy." Okay, all right. Before I read this, let me reiterate. I did a news story last week about a guy who was on Xbox Live, and he was a predator. He was a sexual predator that preyed on young girls as young as 11 years old, and he met some of them in real life, in the flesh, so to speak. And luckily, it seems he didn't actually do anything of a sexual nature to these young girls, but he did solicit them, and he gave them things like condoms and sex toys. And I gave this is a cautionary tale. I gave a warning. I said, be careful who you meet. Don't go meeting people online. CoolVids19 is the opposite of the end of the spectrum. He says he agreed to meet this guy on PSN, and it turns out he was my long-lost brother. Now, I don't even know if that's true, and I told him, I said, if this is true, I'd love for you to come on the show and talk about that experience, because that's certainly incredibly interesting. But, don't, like I said, all right, you gotta find the happy medium. You gotta find the happy medium. You can't assume that everybody online wants to molest you. And you can't assume that everybody is going to turn out to be like a long-lost relation or a great friend or something. You do have to be cautious, but you don't want to be paranoid. So I'd certainly like to talk to you about that if you'd want to come on the show. WWE 12345678990QQA. What a username. Say, all right. Will you guys get my name right? It's Necro. It's not Nero. Okay, my name is not Nero. People call me that all the time. I'm not Nero. I've never burned Rome or fiddled or any of that crap that really isn't true anyway. But I'm going to read your comment as it is. Hey, Nero. Have you seen Wait Till Your Father Gets Home and answer this for the show too? Dude, have you ever heard of punctuation? Okay, I've never even heard of what you're talking about. I can't read this. I'm just going to say what he said. He asked me to bring back Julie. That's not something that's going to happen in the near future because of technical problems with her computer. I'd love to have her on the show. I really would. But the time we spend together is got to be quality time, because we don't spend as much time together as we can, as I'd like to. So, to do videos together, we'd love to do it, but there's technical issues, involved as well. And then he goes on to I want to talk directly to you. WWE 12345678890 QQA. I don't know what the QQA is, and I don't care. But I'm going to talk directly to you, because you've been kind of a thorn in my side for the past few weeks. So I'm going to explain something to you about requests. And this goes for everyone, but everyone seems to get it, after I explain it once. This guy hasn't gotten it yet. You make a request, and then I put it on a list that I have. You can't see the list. It's only on my computer, and I'm not going to show it to you. The list is over 100 games that people have requested for me to do. And I do it on a first-come, first-served basis, which means I do the oldest requests first. Because I had problems in the past with people requesting a whole lot of games at once, I made a rule where you can only have one request pending at a time. So you request something, and then you wait for me to do it, which is going to take a few months, and then you make another request. In the meantime, you enjoy a whole bunch of other videos about a wide variety of subjects. That's how it works. But this guy, he'll come and he'll request a game, and I'll be like, okay, alright, that's fine. And then 2 seconds later, he'll request a different game. And I'll say, but you already have a request. And he'll go, oh, okay. But how about, and then he'll request something different. I said, one at a time. And then the other thing is, he keeps asking me, like, okay, is it coming up tomorrow? No, it's coming up in a few months. Please stop making requests until the game that you request. I'm even going to make this easy on you, okay? I'm going to bring this up. This is the pending request that I have for you. The Itchy and Scratchy game on Super NES. It's near the bottom of the list. It's not the very last thing, but it's at least 2/3 down. It's going to be a while. After I do the Itchy and Scratchy game, you can request another game. One game, and I'll do that one. But you got to understand that it's very simple. I lay this out as simply as I can, and I really, really don't understand how this one guy is having such a hard time understanding it. So I hope that that's cleared everything up for you. Okay? Stop making requests. You already have a pending request. And I've told you this. But maybe on the show, hearing my voice talking directly to you will help. Moving on. Monk237 says, great show as always, Necro. See? He also knows my name. Just a random question for you. Did you ever watch Twin Peaks? And if so, what'd you think of it? Well, that one's a little before my time, if anything. I remember when Twin Peaks was around. I wasn't into that. I was into, like, cartoons and shit. You're only a year younger than me, so I don't know. I'm surprised you... Maybe you saw it after the fact. And he says, he asked me if... And also, have you played Alan Wake and noted... no, I haven't played Alan Wake. He keeps going on about the similarities between Twin Peaks and Alan Wake. I have not seen or played either of those things. So moving on. Jupe Reindeer says, I actually won an award for recommendation on the modernization of a very old shooter called Mail Order Monsters. I'm not understanding what you mean. Are you saying that you modernized the game, or are you saying that you recommended that they modernize the game and they gave you an award for that? Not quite sure I understand that, but this is what he says. It would get away from the war theme and could produce a very strong 3D shooter at the same time. So basically, I think what you're saying is you pitched the game to someone. You pitched the idea that they would make a remake of Mail Order Monsters. In it, you are a monster wrangler, and you buy all kinds of creatures from around the universe and sell them into battle on a large world. Sounds like Pokemon to me. They get outfitted with offenses and defenses from bear claws and teeth all the way up to nukes. Okay, it's way better than Pokemon. With 3D wireless and such, it would be great. Sort of a multiplayer Monster Hunter, I guess, or I don't know. It does sound interesting. Dave Cornfan finally says, thanks for reading my comments. I'm just back from a concert. The band was Amon Amarth. Any chance you've heard of them? If you have, what do you think of them? I'm a fan of Amon Amarth. They're a very good band. Anyway, I haven't been on the internet in a few days. I'll load up YouTube, and you have 2-hour-plus videos. Thank you for that. Well, you're welcome. Yeah, Amon Amarth is great. If anybody's into death metal, I would definitely recommend Amon Amarth, particularly their album Twilight of the Thunder God. That is a great fucking album. As a matter of fact, I wasn't really that big of an Amon Amarth fan before that album, but that album made me a fan of theirs, so that was kind of a big deal, you know. That was really cool. So like I said, I have less to talk about this week, so you guys get more music. Oh, right, yeah. And I was so I'm gonna play a song, but I was going on about the whole request thing from that guy with a whole lot of numbers in his name, and he also requested music. He asked me to play something from Sonic the Hedgehog, any Sonic the Hedgehog game. I'm not going to do that. I just played a song from Sonic 4 last week, so I'll do something else. Let's see, what do I have laying around here? I play a lot of RPG music, but how about something that's not from an RPG? You know what? Let's play a little game. I'll play the song, and you try to guess in your head, okay? Because don't post it. I'm going to tell you at the end of the song what game it's from. But you try and think, what game is this from? So here we go. Let's see if you know this song. I don't know. I'm thinking that was too easy. I just decided to have some fun with you guys. That's from Metroid Fusion. So if you said Metroid Fusion, you were correct. Give yourself a pat on the back. That's the Sector 1 song. If you were incorrect, just pop yourself in the balls real quick. And if you're a chick, I don't know, punch yourself in the boob or something. Punish yourself, in other words. I guess I'm a sadist on this show, huh? Let's get to the news. I have some really interesting news stories. Not as many news stories as last week, but certainly some interesting ones. So let's get to the news. So my first story here is about the Nintendo 3DS, but I'm not here to talk about the launch, which has gone very successfully. I'm not here to talk about the games or really anything. I'm here to talk about its use in catching someone cheating on their spouse. A Los Angeles woman, her name was Karen, that's all I have, she figured her husband was cheating on her, and she had this suspicion brewing inside of her for a while. But I don't know why she thought this. I guess there were red flags that she saw. I don't really have details as to how she came to the conclusion that her husband was cheating on her, but she did come to this conclusion. So basically, she went through all the typical things, looking at his phone, text conversations, and found that he was erasing everything, covering his tracks, basically stymieing all her attempts at proving that he's dicking somebody other than her. So she finds a receipt, I guess, from a video game store. He went to go buy a 3DS console on launch day. She finds the receipt for over $500, which would be the cost of 2 consoles. So she figured that the second 3DS was for the mistress, the Goma, the other woman. So what she does is she reads up on the 3DS, and she finds out about Street Pass. And basically how Street Pass works is it allows your system to hook up to another person's system as you're passing them, supposedly on the street. So she secretly goes out and buys a 3DS and puts it in the closet for a few days. She comes home from work and she sees nothing. And then she comes back another day and she sees nothing. But after a few days, her Street Pass was lit up and she sees the me of the mistress, or as she put it, this is a direct quote from Karen here. I came home from work yesterday and saw nothing, but on April 1st, my 3DS's Street Pass was lit up and saw the bitch's me on it. How about that? That's amazing. A Nintendo 3DS was used to catch someone in the act. That to me cracks me up. I love that story. And this actually leads into another thing that I wanted to talk about. The CEO of Sony made an asshole out of himself, more so than usual. They're really getting very vicious in the attacks on Nintendo, probably because Nintendo just had a very successful launch of a new console, the 3DS, and did something that everybody thought was going to be impossible, glasses-free 3D. So they're a little upset about this, and they were basically saying, oh, it's for kids, it's a toy, the typical kind of Sony thing. These are the same people that said that the Wiimote looked like a lollipop and they're too old for lollipops, and then they make the Move controller. And I talked about that with Vidya games. So we'll talk about that a little in the interview coming up after the news. But man, it's just crazy. I mean, what the fuck, dude? So he's saying, and no one over the age of 20 would be caught dead carrying around a 3DS in public, which is stupid because if you look around Japan especially, in the areas where there's not devastation, what do? You see people like walking around with their fucking 3DS out. So I don't know. I think Sony's running scared. Obviously, this has adult uses. They caught somebody cheating. So that's pretty funny. I wonder what the CEO of Sony would think of that. He'd probably pop himself in the balls a couple of dozen times and then, call it a toy anyway. But, whatever. Good news for Final Fantasy fans. There is a remake of Final Fantasy V. And it is confirmed. This is actually happening now. If you're getting excited, calm down a little bit. Calm down about it. I don't have too much information, but it is coming not to the DS like Final Fantasy IV did and Final Fantasy III did, not to the PSP like the remake of Final Fantasy 1, 2, and soon enough 4, but this is interesting. It's coming to PlayStation Network. Square Enix has announced that they are making a new version of Final Fantasy V, and it is officially being developed for PlayStation 3 and PSP. That this is a downloadable title through the PlayStation Network. They said it's a reinvention, not just a re-release, and in how the addition of full CG animated cutscenes exclusive to the new release, though the classic gameplay mechanics like the ATB battle system will stay. Unknown as to whether this will be a 3D remake like Final Fantasy 3 and 4 for the DS, or will it be a high-definition 2D game like 1, 2, and 4 for the PSP? We'll get more information hopefully soon, but that's all I have on it right now. But people have been wondering about this for the longest time. What's going on with a remake of Final Fantasy V? Will they remake Final Fantasy V? Looks like they are doing it. So that's pretty cool, huh? What do I have next? I have some news for fans of Super Meat Boy. If you get the latest Super Meat World update, your Super Meat Boy will get 140 new levels divided over 8 chapters. They can be found to the left of the first world after collecting over 20 bandages. The reason I'm doing this story at all is basically because I do have a feature planned where I'm going to do a Let's Fail of Super Meat Boy. Up to 20 videos attempting to get as far as I can in this unforgiving and very difficult but supposedly very fun game, which I haven't played yet, but I am looking forward to trying it out. Will I have those extra 140 levels? No, I'm going to stick with the version I have. I don't think I'm going to get through quite that many levels anyway, but that's what's going on there. In case there are any fans of Super Meat Boy out there, you might want to get the latest Super Meat World update, and you will get 140 new levels. It's almost like a whole new fucking game, huh? I mean, I understand that the levels are just like a screen, but still, it's a lot, you know? It's a lot. So that's what's going on with Super Meat Boy. Here's a quote from Team Meat. They will introduce the Unknown, a feature that will automatically select user-made levels for you. Oh, this is something else they're working on, yeah. They're doing a public beta for the Super Meat Boy level editor. Okay. They say they basically want to turn Super Meat World into an endless sea of rage. These features are Steam only, meaning Xbox 360 Meat Boys are out of luck for now. Oh well. I have some news about the NGP. Basically, there's been a lot of stories out there claiming, just a rumor really, it's not backed up by anything, that the release of the NGP is going to be delayed due to the disaster in Japan. I'm here to tell you that that is not true. Jack Tretton, he's Sony's American president, and he says, so far we see no impact from the quake on our launch plans. So basically they're not planning on delaying it. We don't know what's going on with that. Of course, it doesn't even have a release date, so they could delay it internally and not even tell us that it's delayed. So, there's also that possibility. I think that's what they're going to do. I mean, they haven't told us a date, so they can just set whatever date they want. And they could be thinking internally, well, we were thinking this date, but now due to this quake, we have to think, further into the future. But then they can say, okay, this is going to be the release, and it wasn't delayed from the quake. See how awesome we are? So that's personally my 2 cents on that story. Here's some news for fans of the Twisted Metal series who have been looking for the new PlayStation 3 version of Twisted Metal, simply called Twisted Metal, so far at least. It now has a release date October 4th in the United States. So, really, what could I possibly say more than that? It's coming out October 4th. I've been talking about Super Street Fighter 4 a lot. Certainly, it seems every week I have a different story to do. This may be the last story for a while. The Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition is confirmed. It will be coming to PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Last week I did a story about whether it would be a disc or whether it will be DLC, and I am here to tell you, officially, drumroll please, it will be DLC, which is a good thing. No news yet on a price point, but if you're wondering what it will feature Nuffs, Burfs, and other Nuffs and Burfs, listen to me. Nerfs, Buffs, and other... that was funny, actually. It should be Nuffs and Burfs, that's funnier. Nerfs, Buffs, and other balancing features, and 4 new characters, including Yun and Yang, who originally appeared in Street Fighter 3, Evil Ryu, and Shin Akuma, who lately they've been calling Onai Akuma, but I assume that's because it's coming out of Japan. There is a trailer out there for the Japanese version of the DLC. They do specifically say it will be DLC, not a disc. So For those of you who are worrying about, including me, about having to buy another disc, of course, who knows how much it's going to cost? Who who knows? Here's some more news from Sony. Of course, everybody's been kind of worrying and wondering about what the future holds for video games. This generation has been going on longer than usual. PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and the Wii all being around since 2006. So, it's been 5 years. That's the typical cycle. And you'd think at least now we'd start to hear about the next Xbox, the successor to the Wii, PlayStation 4, so to speak. And while we're getting NGP and 3DS, no new home console, Sony says don't expect the PlayStation 4 anytime soon. They are dedicated to lengthening the cycle for home consoles to being 10 years, not 5 years, which is part of why up until 2012, they're still manufacturing PlayStation 2, and there are still games coming out for PlayStation 2. So, they say, this is a quote from Colin Sebastian of Lazard Capital Markets. He says, management remains confident in the 10-year console lifecycle, no PS4 anytime soon. While no time frames are mentioned explicitly regarding a console refresh cycle, management indicated that there is little reason to expect a deviation in the 10-year console cycle. Of course, I don't get it. That is a deviation. 10 years is a deviation. But it's a good deviation. I'm glad. You get more for your money. You get more out of your current consoles. But he does have a prediction that due to the long refresh cycle, we may be seeing new consoles from people other than Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. This is what he says. We think this might, over the duration of the remaining life of the PlayStation 3, provide a window of opportunity for new gaming platforms such as an Apple TV, which could simply utilize an SDK and App Store to deliver games to television sets. The next generation Apple TV will, in our view, likely feature the same hardware and software improvements that accompanied the iPad 2, which include a dual-core processor and a 9x improvement in GPU performance. Certainly sounds impressive, but I don't know. I still look at that Pippin, and I wonder about that. Do they really want to do a console? Do they really want to do that? And finally, I have some news about Assassin's Creed 3. It hasn't actually been announced, but it looks like it's confirmed anyway via a resume. I'm trying to see whose resume is this. I don't think I have a name. It's a developer who worked at Ubisoft in Montreal from August 2008 to November 2010, apparently left or got laid off or whatever, and he has his resume out there looking for work, and this is what it says. The games that he's worked on: Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and Assassin's Creed 3, and in parentheses it says, in production. It's been rumored for quite some time. Don't know anything about the game. There hasn't been an official announcement, but according to this guy who's looking for work, he worked on the game. So I think that's as much confirmation as you could ever possibly need. So now we'll play a little music and then we'll get video games in here. So let's go with that. David. He was last here for Season 1. I didn't even remember that until he reminded me. How you doing, David?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. What brings you here today?
I don't know. I enjoyed being on the VMX show last time I was on, so...
See, since I don't even remember your last appearance, maybe you can remind me what was it that we talked about last time.
We actually talked about the Game Crazy near me and some complaints about it, but that's actually gone, and it's been replaced with a way better store.
What is it replaced with?
It's funny because it was called Game Crazy before, and now it's called Game Freaks.
Oh, okay. I've heard of Game Freaks. Yeah, Game Crazy, I think, is completely out of business at this point because they were owned by Hollywood Video.
Yeah.
And that's gone the way of the dodo.
Yeah, all the video rental stores are just going downhill, man.
Yeah, there's no point in having them anymore.
Yeah, Netflix streaming is great.
And now that there's even alternative to Netflix because there's also Hulu and Crackle and all these other things.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and especially that people, you don't need a computer. You get it, through your DVRs or your PS3s,
Yeah,
or your
yeah, I
Xbox,
use my-
or Wii, so it's kind of...
It's very convenient.
What do you think of the modern video game consoles being used for multimedia purposes like that? Because it seems to me that previously in the past that was a bad sign. Like you had multimedia machines like the 3DO, the CDI, and now it seems like we have more mainstream successful consoles. All three of the consoles you can get Netflix on.
Well, I don't know. I like it, but I just think if the focus is more on it being multimedia and the games are, the gaming aspect of it is like kind of shadowed by that. I don't think that's good. Because wasn't the NES originally marketed as some sort of, family computer like the Famicom?
Here it was. Yeah, they were trying to sell you the Rob,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like. That was the selling point. It wasn't but that was because that was at a time when video games were a four-letter word because they had the video game crash.
Yeah.
So they didn't call it a console. They called it a control deck. They had it. They didn't have a traditional top loader. They had that weird VCR style thing.
Yeah, the Nintendo tapes go into
the tapes.
Yeah.
God.
So they were just trying to avoid that whole...
That's when you know you're over 60 is when you start calling them tapes.
Yeah.
But, or if you start calling everything Nintendo, even if it's not.
Yeah, playing the PS3. Turn that Nintendo off.
God. Speaking of Nintendo and Sony and all that, let me ask you your opinion on this, because I was just reading this news story that I think Sony is a little bit running scared right now. Their CEO was saying that Nintendo makes babysitting toys and that nobody over the age of 20 would be caught dead holding a 3DS in public.
Who said this?
The CEO of Sony.
Oh my God,
is he out
dude.
of his damn mind? Like, what is going on with that?
I mean, that's just like stupid rhetoric. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You gotta
I mean, I think it's appeal to ridicule, and it's also sort of a slide move. I mean, obviously, if you ridicule your competition, then that's going to do well for you, unless you make an ass out of yourself like this guy did.
Well, that's pretty outlandish. I mean, come on, that's fucking.
But
stupid.
I guess he's trying to he's trying to shame the adults out of playing it. And, like little kids aren't even supposed to play the 3DS because it could cause some harm to their eyes.
I haven't heard about that.
Well, they say that nobody under the age of 7 should play it because their eyes are still developing and the 3D could actually futz with their eyes.
Oh yeah, that's.
Yeah. And even if you're older than that, you got to take frequent breaks and everything. I mean, it's I hate to compare it to something so terrible, but it's the same basic premise as the Virtual Boy, that you shouldn't play it for long stretches of time.
Yeah, but you don't got to strap that thing to your face.
That's true. And it does operate. It actually does operate under the same basic premise that the Virtual Boy did, is that it's beaming two different images to your eyes.
Yeah, and that's why no
Just
glasses.
doing it without glasses is nuts, but they somehow did it. I'm happy about the 3DS. I plan on getting one. I'm excited about the NGP, but I think Sony, they need to really get their shit together when they say things like that.
Yeah, what? I don't know. That's just so stupid that.
Well, this is the same guy that said. I think it's the same guy that said that the Wiimote reminded him of a lollipop.
And then they make the move.
And then the move, the move looks way more like a lollipop.
That's glowing lollipop from.
Yeah, it changes colors. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with the move. That was a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'd rather play the move than the Kinect. I don't want.
Well,
but yeah, both of them are pretty stupid.
I gotta agree with you on that. Both of them, I don't get it. Like, just because Nintendo did something and it worked well from them doesn't mean it's going to work well for everybody else.
Yeah, well, the Kinect in particular actually reminds me of the peripheral that came out for the PS2 called the iToy, which I actually ended up getting for some reason.
Oh my God, you had that thing?
Yeah, my parents. I use it as a webcam now. You can actually get some driver for it, and it actually works pretty well. But I don't know. I had fun with it a little bit and slapping ninjas off the screen. But I mean, it seems like the same basic shit. But it's funny because Microsoft is doing it, and it reminds me so much of Sony's iToy, because you hold your hand up to something and the timer goes, and that means you've selected it. So it seems like the same thing, but it's advanced a little bit. But
do you remember there was this is old crappy technology, but when I first heard of the Kinect, the first thing I thought of was this Sega Activator.
Which one? What console was that for?
It was for the Genesis, and it was like a ring that you put on the floor, and you're supposed to stand in it. And I guess it was marketed for like fighting games and stuff like the beat 'em ups.
Fighting games? What?
And you would like punch and kick, and it was supposed to register that. But
well, you do a little Hadoken with your hands.
Well, the way it actually worked was that there were these beams coming out of invisible beams coming out of the ring, and when when one of your limbs broke the beam, it would register as a button press. So it wasn't really like you punch and your character punches. It was more like you punch in this direction and it's the A button. You punch in that direction, it's the C button.
I'm sure that worked very well.
Oh, you'd have to flail around like an idiot. I mean, imagine trying to do something like a Hadoken where you'd have to go from down, forward, and then a button.
Oh my god! Or Zangief's.
Oh my god!
Yeah, 360 with your arm.
I think you'd have to do a real hurricane kick to pull a hurricane kick off in the game.
Yeah. I was watching something on the news about Kinect with this disabled lady who was outraged. I think she was going to sue I don't know if she was talking about suing, but she was really pissed off because this lady in a wheelchair, and she was mad because it wouldn't recognize her as a person because, when you're sitting down in a wheelchair, you're not exactly taking the form of someone standing up, and she was enraged.
Well, first off, she's got to be doing something wrong because most people that are going to be playing it are going to be sitting on their couches anyway, which I don't imagine as being any different from sitting in a wheelchair. So to me, it seems like she's doing something wrong.
She might have had some other problem. I'm not exactly sure, but
I mean, you're not going to sue them. I mean, you're not going to get anywhere with that. I mean, what are you going to do? You have to give me money because I felt insulted when your video game told me I wasn't a person.
Yeah,
you know what that reminds me of?
Yeah, the Wii. Was it what are you talking about?
The Wii Fit calling people fat or something? But it's like if you buy the Wii Fit, obviously you're trying to get in shape, right?
Yeah, what are you going to do, step on the scale and sue the scale company? That's fucking stupid.
They'll shoot the messenger, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get that. I mean, if I was to get the Wii Fit, which I wouldn't because it's freaking retarded. But if I was to get that, I would fully expect it to be like, you're fat. And I'd be like, I know, that's why I got it.
Unfortunately, I have that, too. I don't make any of these decisions on these peripherals.
She's enraged? That's hilarious. You know what's funny is my friend Joe thought that Kinect was going to be this huge thing that was going to help disabled people.
Yeah.
And now you got this disabled lady, and she's all pissed off because...
Pissed.
Well,
news team was at her house. She was like, yeah, really...
Take it back to the store. What do you want me to do? What Microsoft can't... There's no way to make something that's going to make every single person happy.
Yeah, and in her condition, it looked a lot easier to just hold a controller. I mean...
Yeah.
It's going out of your way to make things hard for you.
Yeah, I mean, does she realize what the Kinect games involve?
I don't know. Probably not.
I don't think so.
She didn't seem like she was very into video games.
Why'd she buy it? Probably because she figured there was a news story there. I bet you it did work.
Yeah.
I bet you she made the whole thing up. Sounds like bullshit to me.
Yeah, dude. She didn't seem like a very
so
intelligent
weird.
person.
That is so... Well, oh man, that's crazy.
I was shaking my head the whole time, dude.
I bet she was ugly too. I'm just throwing that in there.
Yeah, she was.
I'm just imagining this. Not that she's disabled, but that the kind of person who would get pissed off at something like that probably has a lot wrong with them.
Yeah, her kids were running around, and she's like, "It's not working." She's like trying to she's flailing her arms around, and she's just outraged. It seemed like such a stupid news story. Why isn't there better things to focus on than some dumb bitch trying to use Kinect?
Even if you're to do a story on video games, there's about a 1,000 stories that are way more relevant to reality than that. That's amazing.
Yeah, they usually have some sort of negative connotation to them anyway.
That's true. That is. Anytime you see video games in the news, it's usually something bad.
Yeah, they're fucking your kids' brains up.
Your kids are using the PSP to get free porn from thin air.
Yeah, but the computer's different.
The cell phone's different. You can't do that with a cell phone, right?
I don't know. I don't have a cell phone. You can look at porn on.
Anything that has a browser, you could.
Yeah.
Most modern smartphones have browsers, so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no different. It's not like the PSP was like a magic porn device. I wish it was, but it's not.
Yeah. What is it? What would it be called?
Well, PlayStation Portable. Of course. Yeah. That's what they were calling it.
God damn it.
It's sad that name is also so clever.
Ugh.
It gets stuck in people's heads, And then they come to the video game store and their kid says, "I want the PSP," and you're like, "Wow, isn't that porn machine?"
The porn machine.
That's that thing with the titties, ain't it?
Yeah. I
don't imagine that's very good for the industry.
No.
That's amazing. Wow. I think this lady you're talking about is the polar opposite of the Wii Fit girl, the one that was shaking her ass in that video.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You told me this last time when we were on the.
Yeah, she's the polar opposite, the wheelchair lady.
Yeah.
She's as far removed from the Wii Fit girl as she could possibly be.
Yes, if you could see her, you could probably look it up if you wanted to, but.
But yeah, I don't get that it wouldn't recognize her form because unless she's missing like a lot of limbs or something,
I would
imagine that being in a seated position is not going to futz with the Kinect.
I'm not 100% on the details, but I remember just like shaking my head the whole time. Just
That's fucked up.
I know.
That has to be the most fucked up video game story I've ever heard of from the mainstream media.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid.
That's amazing. That is just. That's great. Well, I guess the PlayStation Portable was a little worse than that.
That's pretty stupid. I still can't believe what that guy said when nobody over 20 would be caught dead with a 3DS.
Yeah, they're too old for it.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Huh.
Yeah.
Right. I guess nobody's going to buy the Resident Evil game.
Yeah, it seems like the whole, like when Sega was calling Nintendo Kitty.
Oh, yeah, like, Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
On the NGP, your dick will grow 3 inches
you'll have like two dicks and half a dozen balls.
Yeah. There'll be so much testosterone flowing through.
You'll have a full beard down there.
Yeah.
A big old Santa beard.
That'll be their ad campaign.
just like
I wouldn't even be surprised. Have you seen any of their commercials with this? You thought motion control gaming was for kids, and then they have and then they have kids playing it. So what's that about?
Yeah, you see that like at GameStop though. I think that's more of a GameStop thing.
Yeah,
GameStop has some pretty fucked up commercials. They keep playing this one for Mortal Kombat with Scorpion and Melina. Have you seen this?
No, but
it's advertising that because you know how GameStop right now they're all into exclusive content. If you pre-order the game there, you get this DLC or this
you get this insane costume if you pay an extra $2.
Well, that's actually exactly you get Scorpion's original costume. Like from Mortal Kombat 1, and you get his one of his his original fatality, and they're advertising it as like a kind of a fucked up machinima, where Scorpion and Melina are like hitting on each other.
Oh, they do that all the time with the characters like talking to each other. And shit.
The machinima, and he's like, I wore this costume for you, and she's like, that's hot. And he's like, you're hot. How about a kiss? And then he takes off his mask and he breathes fire all over her. And I'm just like, that is so stupid, and they keep showing it over and over and over again.
Yeah,
you can't step inside a GameStop without seeing it now.
Yeah, I haven't been in a GameStop in not a very long time, but I haven't been in there recently at all, so I don't know.
So where do you shop for? You go to the Game Freaks or?
Yeah, it's either I go on the internet because I don't know. I don't really like.
I don't like shopping online for games unless it's something that I've tried to find and I can't.
Well, usually it's just because, like last time I did, I won some contest on YouTube and won a $50 Amazon gift card. So
yeah.
Yeah, that was nice.
But then you pay shipping and everything.
Yeah. Oh, shipping's a bitch on Amazon because if you're buying used items, everything has separate shipping fees. So and then you're like, oh, I just found this game for like cheap, and then you look at the shipping, and it's like they fucking like fool you because it's like $8 shipping or something. It's usually $4, but it's
$8 for something that cannot possibly ship for more than $2.
Yeah, I was gonna buy some AV cables for my Dreamcast because I'm so sick of using RF, and then they're only like $2. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I don't mind paying $4 for shipping, I guess. And
double the price of the cable.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Fucking stupid. They're just some cables. You can't imagine the efforts they must go through to transport those to where I live.
Oh, yeah. I once bought a Sega Saturn on eBay, and it was the console itself, 4 controllers, like 30 games or something. It was like 22 games, and the RAM pack and everything, and the whole thing cost like $80. And that was with shipping. And it was this huge box. So I'm like, this guy managed to get it to me, for, it was like $5 shipping.
Yeah.
For a console and like a whole shitload of games. And, Saturn games came in those huge fucking cases.
Yeah.
So it's not like it was small or nothing.
Yeah. I'd be interested in getting a Saturn. How do you like that?
Well, I played the hell out of it, but that was years and years ago. I haven't played it in a long time. But yeah, I have a couple of pretty good games for it, but I have a lot of crappy ones too.
Yeah, because I was in debate between the Dreamcast and the Saturn, and I went with the Dreamcast, and it definitely.
I think you asked me for advice on that. I told you, definitely get the Dreamcast.
Yeah, that was helpful. I'm glad I did it in the end. I mean, not that I don't like the Saturn, but definitely there's a lot more selection on the Dreamcast.
Well, this guy didn't even know what he was selling because the RAM pack alone was worth the price that he was selling it for.
What does that do? Is that just ups the RAM?
It's a RAM expansion for the for the Saturn that just gave it more memory, and it was kind of a rare item.
Oh, really?
And it was required to play certain Saturn games.
Oh. Kind of like the N64 expansion pack.
Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, it was like, I know that X-Men versus Street Fighter, for example, required the use of it, and it was kind of a, for collectors, it was kind of a hot ticket item, and, it was weird because the Saturn had the CD tray, of course, and then it also had a cartridge slot, and people wondered, what is that cartridge slot for? And the RAM pack, as far as I know, is the only thing that goes in there.
Well, I thought there was one thing that you can put in there, and it, makes it so you can play Japanese games.
Maybe. Well, I think the RAM pack actually does that. I think that's part of why.
Okay.
I think it's part of why it's so sought after. Now that I think of it.
Yeah.
Because it bypasses the regional lockout. I mean, since it's a cartridge slot, it would have been nice if the thing played Genesis games.
Yeah, that'd be funny, but
maybe some backwards compatibility. I mean, it is a cartridge slot. Why not, right?
That thing was rushed, though. That's the problem with Sega. Is they always release their consoles in between everyone else.
Yeah, well, now they're not even doing consoles anymore, so we don't got to worry about that.
Yeah.
One last thing I wanted to ask you about before we go, since you were talking about console lifespans, Sony is right now saying that they think that the lifespan of a console should be 10 years.
Yeah, I remember that they made a promise when they first released it.
Well, they did that with the PlayStation 2, and they're still supporting it.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, because people are starting to ask about PlayStation 4, and they said, don't expect it anytime soon. I personally think this is a good thing.
Well, yeah, it is nice to get, more time out of your console. I mean...
Well, yeah, because you don't, you have to, especially if it's something like PS3, you have to drop $600 for it.
Yeah, and I mean, the NGP will probably keep whoever the fuck wants to buy that occupied for a while anyways.
I definitely want to check that out. I'm a big PSP fan, so...
Yeah. The NGP, though, but, I don't know, it's just, it seems like it's such a weird... I don't know, it's just, it seems like it's fucking, so Like, it's like too good for a handheld. I don't know. That sounds stupid.
I kind of get what you're saying. Yeah, you wonder, like, is a handheld with the power of a PlayStation 3 really something you want?
Yeah, is it necessary, and is the price corresponding with that going to be worth it?
$350. I mean, it's about the same price as a PS3.
Yeah.
Except it's portable.
Yeah.
Touch screen on the back.
Yeah, what's a touch screen on the back? Is there a screen on the back? What's the purpose of that?
No, it's I guess so you don't smudge the screen up, because if you have a PSP, that screen smudges up actually very easily.
Uh-huh.
So you could, like the demonstration I saw was they were playing an Uncharted game.
Oh, I saw that. That looked amazing.
Yeah, and they say you just flick your finger across the back to make him, like, climb over something.
Oh, yeah. That was, I don't know,
It looked pretty interesting to me.
Yeah.
So.
But, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's not going to be the same precision type of touch control as the DS.
Yeah,
and for something like that, where you could have almost like an extra button where you just flick your finger to do something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that could, I don't know, that seems like that could prove troublesome if you're trying to evade, like trying to get out of the way or something. And you're like, fuck, no.
But, well, I don't think it takes up the whole back. So I guess you could, like, not put your fingers on it until you need it. I don't know. I'd like to get some hands-on time with it, but that's a ways off.
I haven't even played a 3DS yet.
Neither have I. I haven't had the chance to
go to Best Buy and go in there for 2 minutes before they kick you off.
Really?
Yeah, they have some pretty uptight patrol there. They got a guy watching you and tell you to get off because you're just loitering there. People playing DJ Hero 2 and whatever type of shit they got laying out there.
Oh, my God. That's fucked up.
There's some guy in there. There's some guy in there. He knows all the intervals. He goes there all the time, and he's like, "You just gotta watch out because he like knows the employees. Like that guy will let you play for a little bit longer."
Oh, so
I guess that's how he gets his video game fixes.
Oh,
he goes to Best Buy and plays games for like 4 minutes at a time.
She should go to Walmart. They just don't give a shit there.
Yeah, I don't really have a Walmart near me though, but
okay, yeah.
I could see them not caring. Last time I was at a Walmart.
Yeah, they just don't give a shit.
Yeah, right after Christmas, there were like just games all over the floor.
Yeah, they do that because around Christmas at Walmart, they just don't even lock the thing. They just keep it open.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's like, that would get insane having to find somebody with their fucking key all the time.
Yeah, I couldn't. I don't know. I was trying to. I thought there were going to be better deals, but all I could really find, I found a greatest hits copy of Fallout 3 for $20, but everything else was just like pretty much just so many copies of Black Ops everywhere, just like scattered. And people on the ground, they look, like pathetic. They're just like scrambling through everything. There wasn't much there.
Must find Black Ops, precious.
Bunch of crackheads.
Well, if it's Walmart, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was great having you on again. But
great to be on.
We gotta call it quits. Got a lot of show.
Yeah, I understand.
Right. Well, we'll have to have you again in a future season. Hopefully I'll remember who the hell you are.
Yeah.
What?
No, it's fine. I'm sorry about pestering you so much. I was like, can I be on now? I was like, just asking all the wrong times.
The times got to line up, and I was having issues with YouTube, and, know. All right, so we'll get back to the show then.
Yeah, cool.
A little Contra 4 there for you. Yeah. The one week that I probably could get the show done in under an hour, I don't. Well, like I said, I don't think you guys mind, so I just figured I'd take my time. But that'll be the show. Let's just end it out as we always do with the sales figures for the week, so you guys know what's going on in the game industry. Here I have the top 10 best-selling games in America for the week ending in April 2nd. Number 1 best-selling game was Pokemon Black and White version, which sold 181,938 copies. And number 2, Super Street Fighter 4 3D Edition, sold 106,314 copies. And number 3, Crysis 2 on the Xbox 360, sold 87,937 copies. And number 4, Pilot Wings Resort for the 3DS, sold 85,472 copies. And number 5, Tiger Woods PGA Tour 12, the Masters for Xbox 360, sold 82,836 copies. At number 6, Nintendogs Plus Cats for the 3DS, sold 76,755 copies. And number 7, NASCAR 2011, the game for Xbox 360, sold 76,520 copies. And number 8, Just Dance 2 for the Wii, sold 75,266 copies. And number 9, still hanging in there after 5 years, Wii Sports for the Wii, sold 72,058 copies. And at number 10, Tiger Woods PGA Tour 12, the Masters for PlayStation 3, sold 68,036 copies. In Japan, the top-selling game was Dragon Quest Monsters Joker 2 Professional for the DS, selling 169,251 copies. And number 2, Amagami for the PlayStation Portable, sold 77,738 copies. And number 3, Final Fantasy IV Complete Collection for PSP, sold 32,021 copies. At number 4, Shin Sangoku Musou 6, what we would call Dynasty Warrior 7 for PlayStation 3, sold 26,624 copies. At number 5, BlazBlue Continuum Shift 2 for the PSP, sold 25,580 copies. At number 6, Amagami for PlayStation 2. First time I've seen a PS2 game chart in a long time. Of course, this is in Japan. That sold 19,587 copies. At number 7, I'm going backwards there. Number 7, Monster Hunter Portable 3rd, what we would call Monster Hunter Freedom 3 for PSP, sold 17,255 copies. And number 8, Dissidia Duodecim Final Fantasy, it's on the PSP, that sold 14,668 copies. At number 9, Pro Yaku Famitsu 2011, so that's on the 3DS, that sold 13,118 copies. And number 10, Phantasy Star Portable 2 Infinity for the PSP, sold 11,519 copies. In Europe, the big seller was Pokemon Black and White version for the DS, selling 122,778 copies. And number 2, Crysis 2 on the Xbox 360, sold 82,313 copies. And number 3, Crysis 2 on the PlayStation 3, sold 74,247 copies. And number 4, Need for Speed Shift 2 Unleashed for PlayStation 3, sold 57,353 copies. And number 5, Zumba Fitness for the Wii, sold 56,803 copies. And number 6, Homefront for Xbox 360, sold 47,144 copies. And number 7, Need for Speed Shift 2 Unleashed for Xbox 360, sold 45,915 copies. And number 8, Wii Sports for the Wii, sold 43,786 copies. And number 9, Wii Sports Resort for the Wii, sold 38,323 copies. And at number 10, Homefront on the PS3, which sold 36,393 copies. For hardware, in America, the big seller was, of course, the 3DS, selling 672,054 units. After that came the Xbox 360 with 78,086 units sold. The Wii sold 72,058 units. The PlayStation 3 sold 60,232 units, the DS 57,073 units, and the PSP 23,459 units. In Japan, of course, you're seeing lower sales figures due to their disaster, so expect that for quite some time. The big seller was the PSP. For the first time in a while, the 3DS had been dominating. The PSP sold 52,687 units, the 3DS 45,124 units, the PS3 25,479 units, the DS 19,909 units, the Wii 9,653 units, and the Xbox 360 1,408 units. In Europe, the big seller was the 3DS, 197,361 units. After that, the PS3 sold 69,763 units. What's next? The DS sold 52,806 units. The Wii, 51,066 units. The Xbox 360, 45,233 units. And the PSP, 25,220 units. So, worldwide, 3DS was the big seller, nearly 1 million units sold. After that, PS3, then the Wii, the DS, the Xbox 360, and the PSP coming in last. So, that'll be the show. We'll see you next week with the penultimate episode of the season. Hope you had a good time. VMX out.